Hello and welcome to Sage Thyme. I'm Lillian and we've got some messages coming through today. It is the 15th of January 2025 and we're going to start with Spirit has a lot of things to say and a lot of ways they want to say it. So the format's different. And we're going to start with the astrology today. And then presumably because they want me to do a rapid fire reading for all 12 signs, rapid fire meaning 10 minutes or so for each one. I will probably be doing that in a second video, but we'll see how long each segment takes and how much they have to say. You'll know in your timeline sooner than I do. I won't know till I'm finished. You'll know when you see the video. There's something in that. Timeline overlaps. Recognizing them, observing them, and feeling confident as the messages within them and the other person or situation you're relating to, feeling confident that they'll reveal their lessons precisely in the right time. Yep. The strategy of timing, and that is something that, one second. That is something that came up recently. And I was going to do a whole reading on this, but it's coming in now. So we've got in the present day transits, we have Mars in its retrograde still in Cancer, in the sign of Cancer, as it is just about to be opposite of the Sun in the sign of Capricorn. And Capricorn, it's the 15th, so we're probably talking about 25 degrees, if I'm placing that correctly, of the Sun in Capricorn and Mars retrograde in Cancer. And this has been a huge retrograde, and it started, I don't know, last fall, I think, in the sign of Leo, and it won't be done until April when it comes out of its post-shadow phase. So March when it stations direct. So this is all really important. Why, you ask? I don't know. I'm being told to pull a card with this. Okay, yes. The transit of, or the opposition of Mars retrograde and all that it's coming with. You know, Mars right now in the sign of Cancer, all the Cancerian and water sign things. Water, we affiliate with emotions on one level. It's also the feelings knowings, some would call it maybe clairsentience. Others would call it memories, cellular memories. There's so many names for it, and all of them together are the most correct understanding of the water element. Water is an amazing electricity conductor, or conductor of anything. It helps with osmotic, so moving things from, like in our bodies, we'll have electrolytes, and if our muscle cells need more electrolytes, they'll create a polarity for osmosis, and it's the water that carries the other polarity into the cells. You know, we hear phrases like learning through osmosis. I used to say that when I'd fall asleep on my textbooks at university. Like, yeah, I'm learning biochemistry through osmosis by falling asleep on the book. But there's something to that in a really bigger way. Day to day, all the things, yes. But what Spirit wants you to hear today is that osmosis that comes from the quote unquote impossible way, medium. So I'm being shown the waters of the cosmos. Ancient scriptures and texts over and over around the world have referenced the universe, the cosmic space, as the waters. So if we are to, so now we're talking ideas like tapping into the Akashic records, But this is going in a also practical application. So something to the effect of a book. Well, you know, we talk about this all the time. I talk about connecting with plant medicine, plant spirit medicine specifically, without even needing to have the plant in front of you. Simply connecting from a heart space, letting the imagery come through, and then the experience of it. We've talked about that a lot. Another thing that can happen is you can read a book, and whether the author is alive or dead, you'll actually be able to connect with both the story and the writer as what they were transmitting in writing the story. We do that through music very automatically. You know, music has that electromagnetic resonance and frequency, and it moves through the waters, the air of our realm, and it touches the waters. You know, most of our body is made of water, and our cells are filled with water, everything, and it has an effect on the cellular resonance. And music can open so much up for us because it's coming from a place that is so universal, a language that comes from a culture, and that culture being far out reaching places of the universe. And oftentimes a musician can tap into the universal consciousness of love, right? The wounded artist is always able to tap into that greater cosmic love, the deep profundity of it, and they express it through their music, their writing, their dance, their voice, their silent presence. Always routed through the heart, that portal that connects us from our body and our internal body in directly into the vast cosmic space. So where did we start with this? Osmosis, the waters, Mars in retrograde, opposite the sun. I just got this like aching kick in my stomach as I thought of the sun being in Capricorn and what the lower octaves of Capricorn represent. The patriarchal themes of misuse of power, abuse of power in all the different ways. Capricorn, the sun, overconfident, prideful, overcompensatory. Cancer, the feminine, deep feminine womb space, the womb waters of creation space. And Mars is coming through there, opposing that overt confidence in Capricorn and saying, you know what? I'm taking a stand for the feminine womb. Mars is maturing. He's still overzealous at times, but he's in reverse right now. And so he's been listening and paying attention because he can't move. And so at first, maybe that pissed him off a little bit. We saw that in Leo in the first few degrees, first decan. And here he is in the last degrees of the last decan as he moves retrograde, more mid Cancer. And Mars has been taking a time out and having to think on himself and what he's been participating in the masculine that has been not okay. And he's also having to think on how the way he used to oppose that warlike reactivity versus response ability to respond. I think he's still having a hard time with it, but he's trying to feel into how to respond instead of react, but do it in a way that has an even more potent impact on the oppositional Capricorn masculine characteristics of overture and controlling and over-governing. over subduing. So Mars, he's still feeling some trepidation in his confidence. Can I oppose in a masculine way, a toxic masculine, to support that feminine womb, that home, my home? The mother is my home. Our planet is our home. The womb and the waters of the cosmos, those are our home. We can tap into them all. And he wants to take a stand, but do it better. Let's do it different this time. Otherwise, it's the same thing over and over again. The wheel rotates, but it's still doing the same stuff, right? So Mars is working on this, and it's sticky and tacky, and it's like a wet suit that you're trying to pull off, right? And I think that that's causing Mars, with the support of that feminine embrace, that gentle, loving, I'm holding peace with you, Mars, feminine space of Cancer. And he's feeling that and opening up to it because he's been doing the work for several months now, which is a lot longer in space-time, in cosmic movement time. And he's reaching deep, he's finding the answers, and he's learning that to find the stronger, deeper, more potent and powerful and higher level answers, he's got to slow down, and he's got to get still, and he's got to go within, especially when the energies are super intense and you can feel the reactivity just on the surface, like one little startle and it'll be bah. So Mars is doing that. So stick with Mars. Pay attention to what he's up to energetically. Feel into this narrative, this option, this particular resonant interaction level. And feel into how it's working through you in your life and how you can work it, how you can do that. Speaking of earlier, tenor of sacred no in a way that doesn't require a lot of external effort, maybe not even verbally out loud. I brought in 3 stones today. I was called to grab quite a number of props and like, this is how we want to feel and look and have around us. So the first one that came up is the blue, totally spacing on the name, but this is a wonderful throat chakra cleansing stone. And the second one representing the higher heart and reciprocity. Again, I'm forgetting the names. I will try to look them up and remember and then put them in the comment section. And then the root. So when I sat down to get grounded for this reading, I reached over and I picked up this throat chakra, and what came through my voice was, I speak from the highest truth. And I set that down, and I picked up the green stone. I love from the highest octave, and in agreement of right reciprocity, right exchange from that heart space. And the root. I pull in an anchor to the base of my being and to the core of the earth. These truths, these energetic reciprocities. And as I anchor them, I return them back to the earth. Interesting. So here's the thing. I love having things planned and figured out. One might say that I depend on that. It's probably part of, well, it is. I mean, I've done the shadow work on that. And so to do a recording like this, where I was given a bunch of different pieces of what would be in the recording and what might possibly come through, but not given any structure or not fitting within any time limit paradigm or all the things, right? Simply, Lillian, go in, sit down, and then let us tell you what to say, what to interact with, and enjoy it. And I'm having so much fun doing this. And I also am feeling the nervousness from time to time when I'm feeling like, oh, I'm being too this or not enough that or whatever. So this is part of the next message that comes in with Venus conjunct Saturn in Neptune. And again, I think we're at around 15 degrees, if my site is telling me correctly, of Venus and Saturn in Pisces. I think I said Neptune. Venus and Saturn conjunct in Pisces. So there's a number of things that are really hitting a pressure point. It's being fueled by Mars's extra energy as he's trying to work out his own business on his side of the neighborhood. Venus is coming in to Saturn. And she's almost putting a stop to some of the things that Saturn is a little off in its tuning while he's in Pisces. So he's been in Pisces approaching Neptune, who's been in Pisces for quite a while now, and for a number of years. And Saturn is coming in and saying, okay, Neptune and Pisces, you've been having a great time with your mysticism, and it's time. We're done. Let's dial it in, because now we need to apply it. There's shit to get done, and you need to come down from the mountain in your hermit cave and start bringing it to the peoples. So Saturn's been coming in with his disciplinary, but I don't think he's been so overt in too much of the or excessively saying like, oh, that's fanatical and that's delusional. I think he's been a really good teacher, trying to teach us to discern when we are not confident enough and we think that we're being delusional or making it up or not believing in ourselves, the truth of ourselves. I think that Saturn has been trying to teach us as he traverses through Pisces that it's time for us to figure out. We've been out to the edge of the cosmos and back and channeling all this big information from all sorts of never before even conceived realms and ways and manners and understandings. And now Saturn's saying, I'm not going to tell you everything that's real or not real, that's true or not true, because you know by now that that's not even a thing. But what I am going to do is start confronting you with your confidence, like a teacher in an elementary school class when he says, okay, so what's 2 + 2? And somebody raises their hand and says 4. And he goes, are you sure? And he's checking them. And they'll sit. And some of them will have the confidence to be like, yeah. And some, they'll have to, did I say that right? You know what I mean? So for the big stuff, the stuff that, to a preschool or elementary school kid, numbers are a new concept, a new way of framing reality. And so to put 2 of them together and create another number, it's a unique concept at first for some. And so just like for those of us who have been doing this work for a long time, it's really challenged our sense of sanity, our sense of reality, and our sense of right and wrong, and if any of those things even mattered, and so on and so forth. And so now we get to create a sense of conviction within that. We get to call our truths based on how it feels and it resonates within us. And we get to outline those and frame those in the context that works for us, knowing that we get to be wrong about it at some later date, because no matter what, at some later date, it will have evolved and we will be made wrong. But we know that if we're clear in our intent, a state of peacefulness or joyfulness, or, all the different words that carry signatures with them, when we're clear in what we are and choose to experience and how all this great wisdom applies to that experience, then we're developing our confidence. We're creating it. I mean, yeah, we're claiming our power back, but we're also creating it. And so Venus is coming in a conjunction with Saturn, and she's saying, you've been doing great, and it's time to give a little bit, give a little bit of my love to you, is what she's saying. She wants to bring in some love. And this message is speaking very specifically to those who have been doing heavy transmutation work and or deep ancestral and shadow work, soul retrieval on a heavy level, the big stuff, right? And especially those, which would be really everybody who's been doing this big work, those who have been transmuting for others and carrying the weight of that. I often get the image of, or I'm shown the image of myself in the deep sea, pulling a giant fishing net up from underneath the soot and sediment at the bottom of the sea and pulling it up to the surface. And each one of those joints in that fishing net represents a person. And that sediment in that bottom of the ocean, that deep scorpionic work, that's the buildup of what's old, what's dead and dusted. And those joints, more than just being an individual on this planet, it also represents within the weaves of the rope the soul shards that have been lost or discarded or pushed out of us, and our ancestors and our neighbors and our brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers and children across this planet. And that is heavy, heavy work. You know this. And so Venus wants Saturn to feel that love, that self-love, while building the conviction. And by self-love in this particular sense, I am referring to relinquishing some of the intensity of the obligation to transmute other people's shadows, to be a witness to their soul shards and the lost parts of their soul, and to do the healing work and, returning them back to them. Right now, Saturn and Venus together are saying it's time to, when you feel those emotions and programs and ancestry, soul pieces and so forth, come knocking on your door and getting in your house. When you feel that now, it's time to reach into that deep inner wise Mars and say, no. It's time for you, dear one, with incredible love welling in your heart. It's time for you to do some of your own work. Clean up, and learn. So we've been powerful spirits that have volunteered into this world to do this work and carry the deepest, darkest, heaviest parts of it. And then at a certain point, we need to teach the people to fish and not just do all the fishing, so that they can develop all the spiritual muscles, the energetic reflexes, and you've already carved the path. And it's their time to start carrying the weight themselves, and it's their time to mess up themselves too. And I don't see this as a going to the deep end and dropping the kid in the deep end to learn how to swim for the first time. I don't think that's what Saturn and Venus are up to. I think they've grown up too. And they're like, we're still going to be here, but we're going to hang back. In part because it's your time to take a breather and to start having the space and the resources and the freedom and the energy around you to mend what has been, sorry, I have to fix this little text that came through, to mend what has been wounded within you. Those wounds are so important, and they're the final facilitator to move you into your more advanced states. Not just as a soul, yes, but within the gifts that you have and that you are. So, wow, okay, 26 minutes. That's what's going on with we're in the birth canal of both of those transits. So it's pressurized, there's contractions. And when the contractions release, it still hurts and feels exhausting sometimes. And we have to stay very, very present within. Because like any birth, to successfully bring something through into the world, into a more material state or reality, it requires the consciousness to be more concentrated within and moving the energies flowing through. And you'll see that in any form of birth to bring it in. So give yourself that space. And let's see what else wants to come through. Oh, I'm being told to not be so punchy. Like, breathe it through. I was having those little like power air puffs like Mars is, but he's bringing it through. All right, here's what we got. Are there two here? Yes. No? Yes. All right. They didn't want to separate. That's it. New blueprints and the infinite. They didn't want to separate the old blueprints from the new blueprints. So that's it. You, my beautiful, ever enduring transmuters, energy workers, shamans, priestesses, person down the street. You are all receiving an upgrade in your blueprints. Call it an update is being uploaded and downloaded into you just as you are passing the baton on to the next. And I know that you have a really good sense of who those people are that you are energetically. This isn't something that's happening, as you know. You're not needing to really say anything. You're not verbally teaching people. It's occurring in those moment-to-moment interactions, and even maybe not interactions, just feeling and sensing individuals of your net that you've been pulling up in the collective. Sensing them, feeling them, knowing now better who's connecting and what they're going through, and giving them that sacred no, and then guiding them. And there's so many ways that I think people do that. For me personally, I'll feel it, experience it. I'll either kind of hear it because it'll feel like I'm having like angry thoughts or something like that, or a song with certain lyrics that are telling me who specifically, and I'll speak out loud if I'm not able to do it quietly within, but speaking out loud in my own private space. No, back out. Let's have a conversation about this. That's enough. Good. Back out, and they'll play with you, and they'll play with their boundaries just like kids do, because they'll want to know how much they can get away with you giving over your life force and energy to them. But they're big enough now. It's time to push them off the nest to the next level. You'll know which ones for sure. And as you do that, your blueprints are upgrading. And look at that. I mean, that's the level of cosmic upgrade that you're getting right now. There is so much in these two cards, especially this one. All the way from the symbol of that Egyptian beetle, the infinite, up through the genetic coding, and the solar. Okay. I feel like that message regarding the astrological transits that are occurring right now, and I mean it's definitely very, very pertinent and very, very important. The guides came in I want to say in masses, but that feels like an exaggeration, when I opened up to doing this work. And it was just like, you're gonna wear this and white, and you're gonna this and these cards, and all these messages coming through. So, and I'll get into those messages a little bit more in the next recording as I close this one out, and we'll do another reading right after this with each and every astrological sign, and then a couple cards on how to work specifically with the energy of that sign, regardless of whether you have it as your sun sign or your second house. So those of you who know astrology and know your natal chart, you'll totally get it. Those of you who don't, feel free to look up your natal chart online. astro_seek.com does great free birth charts. So go ahead and look those up. I will be seeing you in the next video. Thanks all.